Welcome everyone to Rewind Recap Relive, where legends and rising stars meet. I'm your host Jonah, and today we went from serial killers and Sin Bodhi last week to a couple of cowboys on today's show in Sam Houston and the young gun Chandler Hopkins. But first, let's get into who won the Sam Houston signed 8x10, next week's giveaway, and next week's show. So the winner of that Sam Houston signed 8x10 is The Bin. Congratulations, you're the winner, and we will be in touch. Now, next week on the show, and I want to preface this by saying I am usually viewed as the tall one in my friend group. However, not in this particular group. Next week on the show, we've got close to 7 foot tall, rising independent star Cypher on with former WWE star Erick Rowan, now Erick Redbeard. And you have the chance to win an Erick Rowan t-shirt, not signed, one that you can actually wear. You just have to comment your size down below if you win, and we'll send it out to you. And all you have to do is comment hashtag R3giveaway down below. That's hashtag R3giveaway in the full Sam Houston and Chandler Hopkins interview, and you will be entered to win that Erick Rowan t-shirt. Alright, all that is taken care of. Now all you guys have to do is please subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit that notification bell. Ding, ding, ding. You will not miss a thing here on Rewind Recap Relive. Keep your eyes open for Erick Redbeard and Cypher. Make sure you enter that giveaway to win an Erick Redbeard shirt. Like this video, share it around, but most of all, please enjoy Sam Houston and Chandler Hopkins. First guest has recently come up on 4 impressive years in the wrestling industry, having wrestled for companies like Ring of Honor, Impact, just to name a few. He's proven to be a formidable force for any opponent to step in his way. He is the modern-day Billy the Kid, the young gun, Chandler Hopkins.
What's up, man? Hey, how are you?
Doing good. Doing good. Happy to have you here.
I appreciate you having me on.
Of course. Our next guest wrestled during some pretty formidable years himself in the wrestling industry, mainly with the WWF during the late 80s, early 90s. Please welcome second-generation superstar Sam Houston.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me. October the 11th, I'll have 57 years in this business. I've been born into it, and I'm still doing it.
Yeah, no,
you are.
So let's talk about that. So I like to always start off with something simple, start at the beginning and understand how you got in to the wrestling industry in the first place. Chandler, can you go first, please, and tell me when that interest turned into passion and something you actually wanted to pursue?
So wrestling really wasn't a big thing for me in my household because my mom was a single mother. So she did the whole raise me kind of G-rated, so really sheltered me from a lot. But when my stepdad came in around 11 or 12, my mom was a phlebotomist and an RN. So sometimes she worked nights at the hospital. And whenever she went to work nights at the hospital, dad would let us watch wrestling. And his whole thing was what mama didn't know didn't hurt her kind of thing. So about 11, 12 years old, I got into wrestling. And the very first match I ever watched was a Rock and Stone Cold match. And I fell in love immediately. And it wasn't really the passion at the moment because it was football. And I played and chased football all the way through semi-pro. But after that, I was felt needing more competition, and I wanted something on a bigger level. And wrestling just happened to fall in my lap. Buddy asked me to go to a show with him, and it was an independent show that I had never even heard of at that point in time, never even understood that there was something called the Indies in wrestling. And I went to an IWR show in Oklahoma, and they were announcing that they were having tryouts. So I was 27 years old and I said, hell, this is my last shot. So I went after it. And here we are 4 years later at 31. And, I'm getting to do some of the craziest things I've ever gotten to do in my life. I'm getting to travel all over the United States, to Mexico. I've gotten to mark off a lot of places on my bucket list. I've got to wrestle a lot of cool names. So, wrestling has been great to me so far, and I can't wait to see what happens in the future.
Absolutely. And congratulations on these 4 years so far.
Thank you.
And Sam, so clearly your family very involved. As you just said, 57 years coming up on it. So let's go back to the beginning. And can you tell me when that first started, when that interest took hold and you realized it was something that you actually wanted to do?
Oh, shoot. When I was a little kid, man, my father was a headliner all over the country.
Yeah.
All over the world. I was like 4 years old practicing my autograph. My grandmother used to tell stories about that. At 4 years old, she asked me what I was doing, honey. I said I was practicing my autograph.
Oh, that's great.
And then when I
that's an important one.
Second grade, I got in second grade. I started. I took a wrestling camp with the high school in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Catholic High. I'm not Catholic. My friend was going. A buddy of ours down the road had just started that high school, and Coach Barrett Murphy was the coach. And I joined in for that summer wrestling camp. Well, the guys, all the guys loved me in the dressing room and stuff.
Yeah.
Danny Hodge, these guys were grabbing me every night, putting me in holds and stuff, stretching me out and everything else. Well, those were my friends, not Alan down the block and Joe around the corner.
Yeah.
My friends were Danny Hodge and Jay Clayton and all these AAU and national NCAA champions and stuff like that. So when they found out I was going to a wrestling school, a camp, they were interested. So they all came on that first Saturday, and my coach blew a gasket because he was a good amateur wrestler, but you got to remember he was a high school English teacher or something.
Okay.
Yeah. That took care of the team. So how better to advance his wrestling team for the high school than be able to get to work out and get some pointers from all these, huge, big amateur champions, so that the coach let me start working out with the high school guys. And,
okay.
I knew it from there. And then when I was 17, I had my tonsils taken out and I died. As soon as I was a junior and as soon as my senior year, I was planning on breaking into business. And I was on April the 2nd, I went into the hospital, had surgery, taking my tonsils out, and they messed up. They nicked my pharynx, and I had a massive heart attack and was dead on the table. I flatlined. I didn't eat food that year from April the 2nd to August 13th. I dropped from 230 to 128. They were going to make me retake my freshman, retake my junior year in school because of all the school I missed. So I took my GED, spent a year, got my weight up, and then told Dad I wanted in the business, and he told me no, it wasn't for me. So I left home and went to Florida, and Dusty gave me the name Sam Houston, and then I've been going ever since.
Wow, what a story! So you definitely broke in earlier than most, I'd say, and you had some veterans watching your back.
Yeah. Randy, my first match, I was trying to remember my first match. Randy Tyler at Dothan TV. I was 12 years old, sitting on the ring, side of the apron before opened the door to let the people in. Randy Tyler had put all his ring gear on and stuff and come in and snuck in behind me and snatched me by the hair, pulled me in the ring, and had a 10-minute with me at Dothan TV before the doors opened, and my dad come out and seen what we was doing. Randy rolled out of the ring and told him that kid's a natural.
To hear that so early, yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I knew what I was going to do. Now, I do want to say this. Chandler, if you've been following your dream for 4 years, brother, that's a whole hell of a lot. You've done a heck of a lot as far as accomplishments, because a lot of people don't get to try to reach for that dream they have.
Thank you.
So you've reached it. So you've already excelled in my book a great deal just by being able to hang in the business for 4 years. Now I understand that you're not as tough as me, because for 4 years for me, we were on the road every night, not wrestling 9 to 13 times a week sometimes.
Absolutely.
It wasn't like every other Saturday night, which was beneficial, and which is really also a shame, because this is where you learn the business at night after the show on the trip home, talking to the old timers and doing like what we're doing.
Right.
But if you're working every night, you can apply that philosophy the very next night. You don't have to wait 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's really that whole situation too. Like y'all paved the way for us for sure, and that's that was definitely on y'all's backs, because we don't get to do the 9 to 8 wrestling matches in 9 to 8 days or 10 days. We have maybe 3 or 4 matches a week, and usually that's max, unless you're signed somewhere, and then it's, however many times a TV taping is. So yeah, y'all definitely paved the way for us, and I'm very appreciative. So I thank you for that 100%.
Yeah, cool. Hey, what's the biggest event you've done so far?
I wrestled for AAA in Mexico in Juarez, in front of 20,000.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, see, when you're getting into it, and I want people to know, and I'm not cutting the indies down and stuff like that, but when you're in a high school gym with 138 paid or something like that,
Yeah.
that's real disheartening.
Yeah,
But when you're in front of a crowd of 20,000 or 22,000 or 30,000 or however many,
right.
The Great American Bash was almost 30,000 people screaming my name at the top of their lungs.
Oh,
they carried me out on my shoulders,
Yeah.
But it's when you have those matches, it brings you up to a whole different level of consciousness, in-ring consciousness.
It really does.
Do you follow me on that, Chandler?
Yeah, I do. Like, I was actually talking to someone the other day about it, about the differences in wrestling in front of, 10, 15 people to wrestling in front of 20,000. And it's crazy how much you hear of a whisper in front of 20,000 people. Like, everything is so much more elevated. It's like it's amplified so much more with so many people there. Like, the littlest whisper you can hear, the adrenaline rush going through the curtain, all that adds up. And you know it better than I do, because I've only done it a couple of times for the AAA, but you getting to do it on a night in, night out basis. I mean, you've probably heard.
It's great unless you go to the wrong building. It's great unless you go to the wrong building. You don't want to run out in front of a rodeo crowd in a pair of Speedos and wrestling boots, because the wrestling event was next door.
Is that personal experience?
Sort of.
That's funny.
Yeah, sort of.
That's great, though.
Well, Crockett, they didn't tell me. They just told me to get to San Antonio. They didn't know when their flight would be. I had to keep the show rolling. There was a rodeo. Nobody told me. Okay. Security was in the building. I walked to the dressing room. I see people in the hallway. I listened to the national anthem. That was my entrance music. After that played, I'm running in mud. Hey, there ain't no ring in the middle. Where's ringside seat? Dun, 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 dun.
Oh,
Here comes everybody riding.
That's
they moved the matches.
That is great.
Yeah.
So Chandler, I've read something I found interesting when I was reading about you was that when you applied, you put in your application, you heard back almost instantaneously, right?
When I put the application in at the training school, I sent it in via email, and literally I went to the bathroom. I came back down, set up my desk chair, and hit refresh. And there was a reply in there saying, yes, this is the next training day. We'd love to have you. So it was kind of surreal, but it was also one of those things that was like, okay, this is meant to be. So let's go. Like, it came back. This is the next chapter. Let's do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, did that create any doubt maybe, because you really didn't have time to think about that. It was so quick, or it just fueled the fire, you would say?
Yeah. It was one of those things where I was already in the idea, the mindset of going for wrestling, because I put the application in. And I was on somewhat of, I guess, a high in adrenaline, because I was like, okay, I did it. Like, what's next? And I was not expecting to hear back at least for a couple of days, and to hear back in 5 minutes, I was already in that process and the mindset of thinking about it. So it just amplified it even more. And it was one of those things, like, I knew the second I got there, because of how quick they replied back to me, that I had to do my best from the very start. And it wasn't going to be one of those things where, like, I was going to be able to really kind of pick it up slowly, because they expected more out of me already from the second I walked in the door.
Right.
I walked in, and, there's a lot of guys there, of course, but just looking, you could tell that I was already the most athletic there. They had some athletic guys. They had some very, good looking guys, but it didn't seem like a lot of them were just really picking it up too fast. And so I had been watching for years, so I understood wrestling, and I got exactly what it was. I knew from the second that I watched the very first match, like, this is a story, this is drama, this action, this is all that in one, and I get that. So I just took it and ran with it from the very beginning, and I excelled. And 3 months later, I was having my first match, which was crazy to me. But I like being thrown to the wolves. That's one thing I thrive on. I feel like those are the situations where you learn the most too, because you're the most nervous. So you're definitely paying a lot more attention, and you're actually listening a lot more. Your senses are heightened. So being thrown to the wolves is something that I love to get.
I am impressed that you had your first match in 3 months. I really am. A lot of guys now, it just takes a year or however long. I only had 2 workout sessions before I was thrown to the wolves. George Weingroff. Now, George stretched the dog stuffing out of me. I mean, he sugared me out, but he didn't put me all the way out. And I was able to fight him off after that. But he hurt me the first time. But I came back for the second time, and he got me. But he didn't get me that good. And then he couldn't get me as we kept going. He couldn't stretch me. But back then, that's what you had to do. You had to get, you're getting stretched. And if you come back, it's kind of neat that they just accept applications now.
Right.
And they're not trying to, see if they got it in. They got to see if you've got it in you in a different way, I guess, to see if you've got the stamina and the fortitude to keep going.
Right.
So that I'm impressed. And, but like the 3 months of training, even though I only had 2 days, George Weingroff taught me how to wrestle by feel in those 2 days. He was legally blind, and he was an active competitor, and a good one too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was great. His dad was Saul Weingroff, a manager way back in the day.
Okay.
But see, and I'm kind of glad they expected more of you, and I'm very glad that you performed, and excelled in it, because a lot of people never get that chance to reach for that brass ring. I mean, this is their dream. This is their life. This is what they want. If this was the thing that you wanted most out of life, your dream, this is your ascension, to the great unknown, or the great out there, or whatever, to Mr. and Mrs. TV land. Anyway, if this is what you want to do, if it's your dream, if you don't give it what you got, you're always going to be second best.
Yeah,
you've got to be whenever I walk into an arena, I'm on my game from the time I get out of the car till I walk in.
Have to be.
And then all throughout, because you are a role model. You are somebody's hero. You're a hero for strangers.
Right.
Right, and you got to be real careful not to be a stranger to your family. And that's one of the things. I thought of that the other night. I'm a hero to strangers and a stranger to my own family. But the road can do that to you.
Yes, it can.
That's a really interesting thing you just said there. I haven't heard that said before, but it's definitely something that I'm sure a lot of wrestlers can relate to. And Sam, so you kind of mentioned you had that on-the-job training, right, in terms of getting into the industry, or was it more of a formal introduction?
I went to Florida. Dusty gave me the name Sam Houston, and I was 3 months. I wrestled every night just about. I think I had like 2 or 3 nights off in that whole 3 months.
Wow.
And I was wrestling twice on Wednesday mornings for TV taping. I was wrestling every night of the week. A lot of times when somebody didn't show up, I was doing double duty. I was getting the experience. I was going up and down the road with Dusty and Blackjack and Hector Guerrero and Mike Davis and Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wrestling J.J. Dillon and Mike Fever and Joe LeDuc and Ron Bass and those guys every day. So I was getting some great experience. I was wrestling with some of the younger guys, like Mike Fever. I wrestled him like, oh gosh, I'd wrestle him 5 nights a week sometimes, but he'd always have a different mask and be a different guy. One day he's the medic, one day he's Mr. Wrestling number 3. Kind of like tongue-in-cheek stuff. It was funny, but I was able to learn timing because he had good timing. His brother was the manager that Dusty used, J.D. Holiday. But his name was Mike. But Hector Guerrero, but I was getting to work with one-man gang. Angelo Mosca Jr. was my second match. Oh, my God.
Ooh.
I learned what pulling teeth was.
I can only imagine.
We were just inexperienced. We kept throwing each other in the corner. Just boom.
How was it traveling with some of the guys you just mentioned? Like, I'm sure some people would love to know how it was traveling with the dusty roads up and down the road.
Oh, it was great. You had to be careful because, you're riding down the road, you got your 12-pack of beer at home, 9 yards, you're drinking, you're talking business, this, that, and the other, having fun, joking, kidding. You stop to go to the restroom on the side of the road, they take off and leave you. I got left 200 miles from Tampa. Dusty and Blackjack picked me up. Boy, you should have, and that's what starts the ribs. And I'm king of ribs, brother.
Are you? I wanted to get into that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've told a few of them, on stuff, but I haven't really got into it because I'm gonna be doing a book on it, and then I'm getting ready to do some. Yeah, I'm going to be doing Dark Side of the Ring, I think, next month, and then I'm going to be doing, some friends of mine. I'm going to be doing a documentary on the Ladies Pro Wrestling Association because my daughter is Samantha Starr, and she's excelling, is doing great. She's in it, and then my sister, who was Rockin' Robin, one of the best world champions all time.
Absolutely, yeah.
She's in. So, but those same people want to do a documentary on my life story because I've kind of always been in the shadows and nobody's really seen or heard of what, the things I've done. They don't know I was there for Junkyard Dog's first match and his last tag team partner.
No, it's true. And it'd be great to shine that light of exposure over that because you really do. You have such a storied career with all these guys. So that'd be fantastic.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I've pulled some really good ribs, really good ones, and I've always stood up for them too. And sometimes it might be years later, but I've always owned up to them. I had to wait until Nikolai Volkov was old enough I know I could either outrun him or whip him. Yeah, he sang the Russian national anthem in Boston, being filmed in Boston Gardens. He sang the Russian national anthem with about a 3-foot toilet paper tail. It looked like it was band-aided. It was band-aided to his back. Jim Powers was on the floor dying laughing. But he tried to pull a rib on me on the plane. And I got in that night. I had to buy beer for Duggan and Jake for a whole month, or they were going to tell him who did that to him. I was never so glad I made that decision to buy the beer as when I saw Nikolai watching that on the TVs on the chairs in the airport that you stick quarters in, used to be. He just were in the airport and he decided to watch TV. The wrestling show's on it, and it shows a clip of the match from Boston Gardens with that toilet. He wadded that row of chairs up into a little ball. That's when I found out FBI is in every airport, They come in, what are you doing? Yeah. He was mad. But I told him in 2006 I did it.
2006 is when you told him?
How many years later?
Yeah, he was like 72. I knew I could either outrun him or whip him or push him down and get away.
Yeah, how many years later was that?
Oh gosh, probably what? Almost 20. I did it probably 87, 88.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But I owned up to it.
No, you did. At one point or another, you'll definitely own up to him. I guess in this book, right? You'll have a lot of people after you after this book comes out.
Oh, yeah. There's a referee in Dallas. His name is James Beard. Anyway, one night after the sportatorium, I wrestled. I got opened up, and then, afterwards there was this bar that we used to go to the matches after the matches called Lockers. well, Sputnik Monroe's son was wrestling for that organization. His name is the Cajun Brawler, Bubba Monroe, and this guy's probably one of the best heels that you'll ever see. I just love beating on this guy. Anyway, so Bubba had tried to do something at the matches. It didn't do good. Then James, at the bar that night, there was always a lady that was a blonde-headed lady that I always talked to. There was never anything between us or anything like that, and she wasn't a wrestling fan. She was one of the bar regulars, and she just thought it was kind of wild that everybody was, all over me all the time.
Yeah.
And so we would just sit there and talk. And so she said, "What happened to your head?" I said, "Oh, I got opened up tonight." And she said, "Oh, I heard that's not real blood." And James Beard was walking by. He said, "You don't think so?" And he thumped my head. And we did. I was wearing a silk. Boy, I gushed all over the place. Well, the barmaid gives me the box of Band-Aids. I go in the bathroom and clean myself up, and I come back out. And James Beard is sitting there with my friend, got his arm, around her and stuff like that, trying to pick her up. And I was like, would you look at this, So George, and he was head of security at the Sportatorium in Dallas for years. George was having a big party that night. Murdoch, Randy Rhodes, myself, Dusty's nephew, Austin Rhodes, all the wrestlers are invited. There's 2 houses in this subdivision. They're separated by about 3 houses in between them. And there's security guards. They're both work at the Sportatorium. So we're having this great big party. Well, some people passed out.
Okay.
And when some people passed out, things happen. Now, the first thing I did was rip the mirror off the bathroom wall. That way nobody could look at me.
Yeah.
Then I took my Sharpie magic marker and I wrote "stupid" across Bubba Monroe's forehead because he was asleep in the living room floor, and James Beard's forehead. Now, me, Murdoch, and Randy Rhodes stayed up all night drinking beer. And 7:30 in the morning, we're laughing and talking about stuff on the road and everything. And we start laughing real good when James Beard starts coming around, waking up. And he goes, "What y'all laughing at?" And I point over at Bubba Monroe.
Yeah.
James goes over there. He looks at Bubba and sees "stupid" written on his forehead. So he starts laughing. He goes to fix him some coffee. Bubba comes waking around. He goes, "Hey, man, what y'all laughing at?" And I point over at James. James turns around with the coffee cup. Bubba starts laughing. Oh. And James, because James has got "stupid" on his head, James is laughing at Bubba because he's got "stupid" on his head.
That is great. It's classic.
Okay, that's not over yet. It's not over yet. So me and James, I have to wrestle in Thibodaux, Louisiana. We're wrestling for Akbar down in Louisiana. That's about a 10-hour trip, 10-hour trip. So we got to hit the road. Well, when we left, there was no bathroom mirror, so nobody could see nothing. They just walked in, peed, and washed their face, and we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Bubba was wrestling down there too. We're all going in different vehicles. So before we get out of Mesquite, Texas, which is on the east side of Dallas, we stopped and filled up at the convenience store. James went in, and everybody just smiling and almost cried. He brought tears to their eyes. It made it day. So we stopped at the convenience store, got gas and drinks and everything, stopped in Shreveport, filled up again, and went ahead and ate lunch at a sit-down restaurant. And people were so friendly to him. We stopped in Alexandria at a Walmart. He didn't have any athletic tape. I'm sorry, it wasn't Alexandria, it was Lafayette. He comes back to the vehicle. We come back to the vehicle. He sits in here and he's like, Yeah, because he just, everybody, I guess it was all going so good, everybody laughing and smiling. And finally he looked in the mirror and saw stupid.
Oh, no.
Oh, he was mad. So then he goes nuts. He's like, I'm going to kill you. I said, James, it was not me. I said, Dick Murdoch told me if I told you anything that he would kill me.
And I pinned it on Dick Murdoch.
Told me. Yeah. Now after Dickie passed away, I did go tell James the truth.
I'm gonna talk with James now too. That's one of my best friends.
Okay. Now,
oh, really?
Wait. There's more, because there always comes a little bit more. When we were pulling up to the matches in Thibodaux or Morgan City, I think it was. When we were pulling up to the matches, I looked at James. James looked at me because he was wondering if you could still see it. Yeah, you kind of could.
Yeah.
Stupid. He was rubbing it off and everything. I said, I guess now's the time to tell you that your fingernails have been painted that low gloss pink. And he looked down at his
he had to notice that? That's he had to know.
No,
wow.
he never noticed it. Yeah. So yeah. But, hey, James, in James's defense, hey, I think they started it. They left me duct taped, tied in the back seat of the car. So, yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah, we always on the road. Always had fun with
so
ribs.
Funny. I love that. No, it's really a camaraderie. It sounds like it was amazing back then. Still probably today. Chandler, maybe you can shed some light on that. But back then, it just seemed like so much of a family. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still much like a family today. Us guys, we all usually carpool all up and down Texas because, from south to the very tip top of Texas, it takes you a whole day just to get to. So
yeah.
We carpool a lot of our family rides. We, we carpool to Ohio, Indiana, up to Chicago.
But do you shave people's eyebrow off?
Oh, I've never shaved anyone's eyebrow off because I would look horrible without one eyebrow. So I don't want it done to me. Now, if it happens, yes, I would do it.
What you do, Chandler, if you ever get your eyebrow shaved off, you wear a Band-Aid, like you got your eye cut, but it's busted open.
Oh, wow.
Just wear a Band-Aid.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Smart man.
Yeah, get your Band-Aid. Yeah, it takes about 3 months for it to grow back. But
it's a deep cut. Deep cut, yeah.
Yeah. Here, buy the big box.
I'll get one of the girls to draw eyebrows on me instead.
Yeah.
No, that don't look right. It just don't look right. Everybody looks at you like a clown in the circus. I know. I've seen guys do that. Gorilla Monsoon's son, Joey Morella, come in after partying all night in New Orleans and everything. We were late to getting to the plane because of this guy. We almost missed our flight. When he passed asleep on the plane, the Bulldogs and somebody, messed up. I mean, they chopped his hair, the whole 9 yards off, and shaved his eyebrows. Wasn't good. That was Monsoon's son, and that wasn't a good thing. But he drew his eyebrows. Yeah, he drew his eyebrows on, and it just looked like Joe Pesci. Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah, I could picture that actually. Now that you just said that. All right, Chandler. So as I mentioned, you've certainly gotten yourself some exposure. You've been with Impact, ROH, AAA, as you mentioned. Which one of those companies for you was the most fruitful in terms of matches you had, or the experience you gained, the people you met?
So Ring of Honor was a Future of Honor. It was a tag match against the Dogs, which was a fun one to learn with. But it really wasn't. It was early on in my career. I'd only been wrestling a year before I got that opportunity with ROH. So I was just taking it with the opportunity as what it was, and I just went out and did my best, performed. Fun match. But out of all of them, Impact was a tag match as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm more known as a singles guy, but I wrestled Santana and Ortiz for LAX. More proud and powerful. And my tag partner at the time had tweaked his knee during warmups. We were walking through things, kind of going through a couple of the bigger things we were going to do, and he tweaked his knee. He couldn't even hardly walk. So everything we had wanted to do, we nixed. And I literally had a 1-on-2 match with Santana and Ortiz until the last 30 seconds, where I got the hot tag in, came in and cleaned the house. That was probably my favorite match out of all the big names I've got, or out of the big shows I've got to do. AAA, of course, 20,000 screaming fans. To me, that was surreal. That was me letting me know, kind of like what Sam said, like, hey, I've made it. In 4 years, this week, September 21st, was 4-year mark for me. And in 4 years, if I never get to wrestle again, I can honestly say I got to live my dream because I was a professional wrestler. And AAA helped me realize that because of the atmosphere that they gave me. MLW was definitely my favorite because of the crowd, the locker room, and the opponent that I had. I wrestled low key. And for some reason, right after I got back from AAA, MLW started promoting our match, and they were making it way bigger than they had made anyone else's matches that was just coming in from Texas. And so I started kind of paying attention, and Court Bauer started tweeting about it as well, saying how excited he was for the matchup. And I was like, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So in the back of my mind, I went in thinking I was going to have a job with them leaving. Like, that was my mindset already. And I walk in and I talk to Court's second-hand man, St. Laurent, and he just lets me know right up then and there. He's like, this is what we're offering. This is what we'd like to do with you. Take a week and let me know. And this is before I even have the match with Low Key. I have the match with Low Key. Everything went great. Guy is phenomenal worker too, by the way. I learned so much.
Believe it. Yeah.
TV match versus some of the 25-30 minute bangers that I've had with some of the biggest names on the indie scenes. I came back from behind the curtain, and Low Key literally was right there with me as I came through, and he was like, dude, you did amazing. You'll be hearing from us, right? Well, I look over to my left where Gorilla's at, and Court's sitting behind the table watching the monitors, much like most promoters do. Sam probably attests for that as well. Watching and just making sure everything's going right. And he looks at me, he pulls his headset off, looks at me, gives me a big thumbs up, shakes his head yes, and puts his headset back on. So I knew at that point it was just a decision on me as to what I wanted to do with MLW.
Yeah.
So I ran by a lot of my mentors, and I kind of picked brains, and I decided that the contract that they offered was not what I wanted to do with my career. The term was just not where I wanted. I had to think long-term, and something that I wanted to get done quick is I want to know that I'm going to be somewhere for a long time, because I don't have a long time left in my career. I started late, 27. I can go forever, but at the same time, my prime is now, and I know that.
Yeah. And
I want the next couple of years to be something that elevates that. And I don't want to be stuck in a contract that puts me somewhere for too long, and I don't feel like they're going to use me. MLW has a great locker room. They've got so many guys on their roster, but that's one reason why I don't feel like I would be able to be used in the proper way, is because they do have so many guys. I would love to go to Impact. AEW is awesome, but Impact I think I could thrive in, because there's so many guys there that I've worked with, that I know personally, and I know I can have banger matches with. I also know my character, I can get it over there as well.
Yeah.
The most that I've taken from all those, though, is just being appreciative for the opportunities. Those things don't come very often, and when they do, kind of like what Sam was saying earlier, like a lot of people don't get a chance to reach for that brass ring. And fortunately for me, I don't know what I did. I don't know what I've done to deserve it other than just work my ass off. But every brass ring that has been offered to me, I've done my best to obtain it at the best of my abilities. And I think that's what's gotten me to where I am now. But it's been a culmination of all those companies believing in me in some point in time to test me out, to see what I can do and give me those opportunities to grow. So MLW is definitely my favorite, though.
Nice to see that you have that outlook on your career, that you want to focus on longevity. And you mentioned your character briefly, so I'd love to get into that. So your modern day Billy the Kid, real life Woody. Can you tell us where that kind of came into play in your career, when you really found that character, how you carved it out?
When I wrestled Chavo Guerrero Jr., he told me the best characters are just a natural extension of yourself, amplified.
Yes. Thank God.
So after I wrestled him, I literally took off and ran with the cowboy, because that's who I am. I've been born and raised on farms. I grew up in the country. That's how I was raised, Western, with my mama and my whole family. So that's been me. So I wanted to take that, but I wanted it to be different, because you have had cowboys your entire wrestling careers. You've had Sam Houston, brawler, rough and tough, could kick your ass, do whatever he wanted to you.
Yeah.
You've had the Dusty Rhodes who come out and he could captivate a crowd. You've had these guys that have been cowboys, but I wanted to take what they've done as a cowboy and I wanted to make it my own. I wanted to show that the cowboy's still here and that we can still show the world that we're just as good of wrestlers as anybody else, even if we wear a cowboy hat. But I wanted it to be me. And I'm very athletic. I'm very agile. I'm not the biggest guy in the room. I'm 6 foot. I weigh about 185 to 200 fluctuating. I'm solid. Cool. But I'm an agile athlete. So I wanted to be acrobatic and high fly. I don't do everything high flying, but I also have a mixed martial arts background in Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I was thinking, where's Walker Texas Ranger at? Why is he not a wrestler?
Yeah.
And I take what I see with Walker and I add wrestling now to it. Billy the Kid was one of my favorite gunslingers ever growing up. The Young Guns is one of my favorite movie. That is hence the reason I call myself the Young Gun, because I believe Billy the Kid was the guy that was the young gun. They were a group of young guns, but he was the one. So that's why I call myself the modern day Billy the Kid, because I do also have that kind of cocky, confident mentality. Like if I get in the ring with you and I've been put on a marquee with you, I respect you because we're fixing to go to war. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm going to show you I belong. And that's the confident side of me that comes out. But I also have this like,
dude, I want to work out with you. I want to work out in the ring with you and show you some stuff.
Sam, let's go. I work at Texoma all the time. Let's get it.
Yeah. Well, next time I get there, Brett, I forget what they call it, Big Country. That's my nephew.
Oh, okay. Yeah, me and him talk all the time. He was, I was there whenever you were training him last time. Me and James were there with you and Tim.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But I'd love to work out in the ring with you some too.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. All I got, you know James just as well as I do. All we got to do is just say, hey, this is what we want to do, and he'll do it.
Oh, yeah. Hey, look, this is something I wanted to make sure I got out there. James Beard, get all the knowledge you can out of that.
Yeah.
I mean, James knows his stuff. He's been around for a long time. Shoot, he still counts in Roman numerals when he's refereeing.
Yeah, he does. We're actually, have you watched any of the SWE product here lately?
Huh?
Have you watched any of the SW Fury product with James down here?
No, I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, he's actually, we're doing a storyline right now where he's my mentor and teaching me the ropes. Because I was on a winning streak when we first started, and now I can't seem to win. And so I was drowning my sorrows in alcohol. Now James is going to pull me from the ruts. So.
Oh, I don't know much about storylines and stuff like that. I mean, I just, I get in the ring. I go in interviews and say what I want to say. I don't have to listen to what nobody tells me to say. I don't have to remember what they tell me to say. Right. I just say what's in my heart. And then, I ain't worried about no like storylines. My stuff is real,
Do it. So let's tell James.
I understand. Yeah, I understand, but it's still like, just funny. There's so many things. This promoter was going to put me and my daughter in a tag team match against two guys.
Oh, okay.
Well, at first I thought it was going to be like me and her against Tracy Smothers and her girl or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I find out it's against two guys. And I just told him, I said, dude, I said, when I hit that ring, I said, the first person that puts a hand on my daughter, I said, I'm all about real life. So the first person that puts a hand on my daughter, I'm killing everybody.
I believe it. Yeah.
I'm killing.
Yeah.
You know, that's my kid. That's exactly what a father would do. And a father that's got hands, he damn straight. You know, somebody gonna be leaving with no teeth, Skippy. You know.
So, Sam, you agreed with what Chandler had just said. The character, what he learned from Chavo Guerrero Jr., the character is just you kind of turned up, right? An extension of yourself.
Yeah, it's got to be an extension of you, not. You can't. You're not a cartoon. You know. I mean, I go to independent shows every once in a while. There was I did one in East Texas somewhere. There was 9 guys dressed up like the Undertaker, you know, and everybody carried a baseball bat wrapped with barbed wire. And I'm thinking, y'all must be the biggest wusses here. You know, if everybody's so tough they have to have a baseball bat with barbed wire to be tough, that ain't it. You know, and then Rod told me, he said, he goes, they're because I said some things in the dressing room. So Rod Price tells me, he said, hey, Sam, he said, I'm going to go out to the ring with you. I said, why? He said, well, there's 3 of them going out there now. And I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, I work like I work. I work hard, and I lay it in. And Rod Price one of them was coming to get me, and Rod Price come around that corner, and I nailed him with a clothesline. I kid you not, guys, that guy was down for 8 minutes.
Hit him hard.
Night.
Yeah, thank you, Rod. You know, but how tough is everybody if everybody's got to walk to the dressing room with a baseball bat with barbed wire?
No, it's true.
I agree.
You know. Ole Anderson go out there and fight a whole crowd barehanded, you know?
So, Sam, when you arrived in the WWF, it was after it had already become the quote-unquote main company, right? It had kind of become this conglomerate of sorts with all the territory. So what was going through your head when you arrived there? How did it feel to be there?
Well, you know, okay, first of all, there's, all the different things that, you know, because, you know, I worked with Mid-South. I worked with UWF, Bill Watts. I worked with Crockett. I worked with Dusty. You know, I'd been around the business. But when you start going to Madison Square Garden and the Boston Gardens and all these famous arenas and everything, you start thinking, wow, man, I've made the big time.
Yeah.
You know? But then with the schedule that you're keeping, I went to Washington, D.C. probably 80 times and never got to go to the Smithsonian Institute. You're traveling everywhere you want to go, but you can't go see anything you want to see.
Right.
You're so engulfed in that next dollar and that next town. You're, like I said, you're a hero to strangers, you know?
Yeah.
So you never get to, I saw the Eiffel Tower at 7:30 on a Sunday morning on my way to the train station from the airport.
Oh, man.
I had to meet Andre in Marseille. You know what that's like? To get off a train and 7'4" Andre be there to meet you?
That's so funny.
You
know?
Were you riding with him?
Yeah, well, I mean, Andre and I rode together after he knocked a couple of molars out in the garden, because Jake pulled a rib on me there. Andre knocked a couple of molars out. Then after that, he told me I had to travel with him from now on. So I was like, all right. I went back to the dressing room, flipping my brother off, telling him I'm going with the Giant, you know, because Andre told me. Andre said, I've known you since you were a little boy. I like you. I don't like your brother, though. He's an asshole. From now on, you travel with me. And I went with the Giant everywhere for about 6-8 months.
Oh, hell yeah.
What an experience
Drinking,
that must have been. What's your? Can you give us
I got
an Andre story? You have an Andre story to share?
Okay, my first time in Madison Square Garden. I'm sitting there, man, this is great. I'm at the Garden. But I don't ever like to know who I'm wrestling before I get there, you know? I didn't care about that. I just knew I was going to work. you know, and if you don't want to look at something and know you got Abdullah the Butcher for 2 weeks, you know, you'd rather not know it for about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So I didn't like to know who I was working with. So I get to Madison Square Garden. I go upstairs. I look on the roster, and wow, I found my name. I'm in the Battle Royal. Oh, cool. So I want to see who else is in the Battle Royal. Wow, my brother's in the Battle Royal. Jake is in the Battle Royal. This is the first time me and Jake have ever been in the ring together, and it's at Madison Square Garden. Wow, this is going to be a big night.
Yeah.
So anyway, you go get dressed and stuff like that. Well, it was hockey season. And during hockey season, they keep the ice on the floor, and they put particle board on top of the ice, and then they set the ring and the chairs up on top of the ice. They got to keep it so cold, though, in that building to keep that ice frozen and everything. So ground, you know, it's like Freon. So anyway, we're out there in Speedos, basically.
Right.
We're in Speedos, just about everybody. So the battle royal starts, and me and Jake are in the ring, and nobody knows really. A whole lot of people didn't know that we were brothers at the time. A few people knew.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody had me in a headlock right in the middle of the ring, and somebody walked by and slapped me in the back as hard as they could. Oh, my God, it stung. And I looked between my legs from that headlock, and I saw snakeskin boots walking by.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my brother did that to me. So I waited a couple of minutes, and he got tied up with Piper over in the corner. And I kid you not, guys, I went over, I slapped him so hard in the back it left the handprint on his chest.
Oh, I believe it, yeah.
So he turns around, he's selling it real big. So now we're standing in the middle of the ring looking at each other. And Jake looks at me and he says, you know, a lot of these guys don't know we're brothers. And I said, yeah. He said, we could really swerve everybody and win this, take this thing and split the cash. What are they going to do? And I start thinking about it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. They got to pay us, you know? Excuse me. So I said, what do we got to do first? And he goes, we got to get rid of the giant.
Oh,
and Andre was over there. Andre's over on the side of the ropes on the side of the ring, and he's beating up like 4 guys, laughing that he's probably had 2 cases of water. Whoa, 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 whack, whoa, whoa, whoa. Just having a good old time. So Jake looks at me and says, you ready? And I said, yeah. And he said, let's go. And he took a step, and I stepped with him, and I kept walking, and I didn't realize that my brother had only taken that one step and stopped. And I went over there and snatched that big man by the leg, and I was trying to hoist him up, and I wasn't getting no kind of help. And I looked back into the middle of the ring, and my brother is sitting there. He's laughing his ass off at me. And about that time, this hand, the size of, I don't know, like, oh gosh, a baseball mitt, comes swinging through the air, and you can't get away from it. The reach is just, even if it was coming slow, it's still going to hurt. I landed, I kid you not, in second row of ringside on my hands and knees, spitting out a molar on the side of my mouth.
Oof.
Left side of my mouth. So I go in the dressing room, and I'm icing my jaw down. And Terry Garvin comes in the dressing room, and he says, Dancing Sam, the giant wants to see you. Like, oh. So Terry walked out of the dressing room. He came back about 3 minutes later, and he looks at me, and his eyes bugged out, and he goes, Dancing Sam, he said, the giant wants to see you. Go to that man's dressing room. Do not make him come looking for you.
Right.
And I was like, all right. So I walk down the hallway, and I find his dressing room. I knock on the door, and he goes, yes. And I open the door, and he looks at me. He says, come in. I come in, boy. And he points to the chair. Sit. And I sit down, and I tell you what, I'm trying to look all kinds of small. I don't want to be intimidating at all. And I've known Andre since I was about 10 or 11 years old.
Okay.
So Andre goes, let me tell you something. He goes, I've known you since you were a little boy. I like you. I don't like your brother, though. He's an asshole. From now on, you travel with me. You know, and I was like, all right, because when I was 15 years old, I was picking up, whenever Andre had come into the territory, I was picking him up and taking him all over the place.
Yeah.
So I know, and he used to come in the territory and be my dad's tag team partner, and they'd be the world's biggest tag team because at the time Dad was like, he wasn't 7 foot anymore, he was 6'10".
Okay.
But Andre, so
that tag team must have been brutal if anyone went against them, right?
Oh God, I got some stories to tell on that. We got. But yeah, hey, and I love doing these shows. So anytime you want to get back together and do another one, we can.
Yeah, no, for more stories for sure. Chandler, so you wrestled mainly as a face, you mentioned, right? Can you speak a bit about that psychology difference? I don't know if you have wrestled as a heel, but how that differs, and if you ever struggle to get yourself over to a crowd as a baby face.
So I have wrestled as a heel, and I do enjoy it, but it's not been very many times. It may have been like 4 or 5 times. But I actually feel like the heel comes more natural to me because it's just my aggressive, like competitive side that comes out. And being able to captivate a crowd that way just by, not even having to like wrestle, just toying with their hero is fun to me sometimes.
Yeah.
But majority of the time I am a baby face. And honestly, I've never really had a hard time getting over anywhere that I've gone. But at the same time, like there has been places that have made me work for it. And I feel like those are different in the wrestling world. Like working for it and earning that respect to me is definitely 10 times better than just, showing up and then just giving it to you because you're just supposed to be babyface. Mm-hmm. But in a match, you're supposed to make them feel that way. You're supposed to be the hero. And I enjoy to sell. Like that is my favorite thing about wrestling is the selling part. I do very well at it. It's one of my things that I excel at, and I don't feel like enough people tell that story as in, I am getting my ass kicked, I like being hit. I do not like the whole baby touch stuff. Like if we're wrestling, hit me. Like Sam was talking about how he hits people. Like I love to be hit. Hit me. I'm going to hit you back.
Yeah, if you can't take it, go back to flipping burgers.
Yeah.
If you can't take it, go back to flipping burgers. Say, hey, your profession must be, you want to excel? Would you like fries with that? Hey, let's supersize.
Exactly. Like there's a place in this business.
If you're going to be in a man's sport, you're going to do it like a man.
Right.
That's it.
But yeah, getting over as a babyface, I've never really had that hard time because of my physique. I feel like I'm very outgoing. I enjoy making kids, cheer. I enjoy being able to, look into the crowd and just see people's faces, like their excitement, their energy they bring, which elevates my energy and stuff in the ring as well. So I feel like babyface is just a natural extension of who I am, kind of like what the cowboy is.
Yeah.
And honestly, when and if I ever do go heel, I feel like that's definitely going to be the bigger challenge for me. But that's also a challenge I'm very excited for because if I can get over as a heel, there's nothing in this world that can stop me now in the wrestling business. And that's the way I see it.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's a great outlook. And I know this is more of a specific question. I know you've wrestled Hacksaw Jim Duggan, correct, in a match?
I've tag team with Hacksaw.
Oh,
yes.
okay. That's great. So I'd love to hear, Sam, your opinions on Hacksaw, but I want to go first. Chandler, tell me about that match. How did that feel being with Hacksaw?
Hacksaw was actually one of those guys that I wasn't sure what I was going to really get whenever he got there.
Yeah.
Thank you. He was one of those guys that I knew it was going to be his way and no way else. And I was fine with that. I did not care because it was one of those things. It's an opportunity I get to learn. I asked him one thing. I was like, I've watched you since, I started watching wrestling. I enjoyed everything you do. I love the 2x4 and everything, but my favorite thing is your shoulder tackle. And he goes, cool, we'll do a double one tonight. How about that? And I just looked at him and said, what? And he goes, yeah, we'll do a double one. And you can take the pin off of it. How about that? And I was like, are you being serious? Or are you ribbing me right now? Because I'm like fanboy and I don't want to fanboy. But
yeah.
Are you serious? And he goes, no, I'm serious. That'll be the finish. I was like, okay, sweet. So we get in, we're starting the match, and you can tell the aura and just the experience that he brings to the ring from the second his music hits, because it was a different feeling in the arena. That he walked to the crowd, he did his whole shtick, and then whenever he got on the apron, he was getting in, and he wanted to start the match, right? So I let him start the match, and the ref does their thing, and they start to circle up, and Hacksaw starts chammering back and forth with the crowd, and then all of a sudden he stops at me and goes, no, I don't want to do anything, and he tags me and he goes, you got this, kid, right? And I was like, why not?
That's some pressure.
So we go around. Yeah, so it was fun though, because I get to show him what I could do on the fly, and it impressed him from what we talked about in the back, but. So I just kind of got in there, and it was one of those brass rings that was literally just given to me off of a tag. And I said, sweet, let's show him what I can do. So I showed him a little bit of stuff I could do, and I tagged back in, and he came in and he started doing his whole thing. He teased the 2x4 a little bit here and there. They pulled the 2x4 out of his hands. The finish was, of course, the shoulder tackle, which was awesome. He did a body slam to the guy in the opposite corner, came over to me, tagged me in. We went over. We did the hands down, shoulder tackled, and I said, hey, on you. And whenever he took off, I took off, and we double shoulder tackled and took the pin for the win. And, it was in that moment, I felt like I was on the biggest stage of them all, because I was standing right next to Hacksaw.
Yeah.
And Hacksaw was my dad's favorite wrestler. So I got to really my stepdad, I'm sorry. But I got to kind of really take that in personally. And that was really just like a cool moment for me to see, like, the transitioning period, I guess, from where wrestling came from and started and kind of grew through to where it is now. And now I get to see that I get to be on that other level of helping build it. And I feel like Hacksaw is one of those guys that really changed my outlook on that. I don't know how he was when he first started. I don't know how he was in his heyday, but to me, he was very kind. To me, he was everything I would have wanted to see as a fan, but now as a professional wrestler as well, sharing the ring with him. So I enjoyed that time with Hacksaw. Very fun match.
That's awesome. It sounds amazing. I love that he was your stepdad's favorite wrestler, and then you got to tag with him. That's so cool.
Definitely pictures were taken. Sam.
Yeah. And Sam, so I know you obviously you've crossed paths with Hacksaw. You were in the first Royal Rumble that Hacksaw won. Yeah. So let's hear about your experiences.
We traveled on the road together. We traveled on the road together for years. When I was like 15, 16, I was a mechanic on his car all the time, on his Trans Am. I was there. My dad picked him up the night he got in the car wreck and killed his girlfriend, Vicky. Dad went back to Jackson, Mississippi, picked him up. Duggan and I have been friends for years. It's just not like matches. We've been in some great matches, like you said, the first Royal Rumble and everything like that. That's awesome, But Hacksaw, to me, I'm not looking at him. I'm looking at him as a friend. I know he's a great man. I know this man. There was an old woman in Seattle Airport that fell down the escalator. She had a small baby. We were on the escalator, and when this happened, the lady got on the escalator. Half her feet were on the one step and half on the other. So when the steps raised like that, it threw her backwards with that baby, and she went tumbling down the escalator. Duggan was 2 stairs ahead of me, looking back at me when he saw her fall. He dove over the top of me and her, landed on the other side. When I saw him do that, I spun around, saw the lady running down there, and we both ran up together. I snatched the baby, and Duggan snatched the lady, and we got them both up and at the top of the thing. And when that happened, he lost his whole stack of tickets. We had tickets for like a month down the road.
Yeah.
In a stack. He lost his whole stack of tickets, but the airlines went and they reissued all of his tickets again.
Oh, that's kind of them to do that. What a story. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, so Duggan and we've been in a couple of hairy situations and stuff like that where I knew we were standing side by side when we were getting ready to go at it.
Yeah.
So I've been there with Duggan. Duggan to me is the lion from the Wizard of Oz, but he's full of courage.
Yeah.
But he's also like, who cut my tail? He's the greatest guy in the world, man. I've got nothing but respect for Jim.
That's awesome. Oh, and
and I just feel blessed that I was able to spend time on the road with him.
Yeah.
There you go.
So Chandler, open-ended question now, and we'd love to have you both back, of course, in the future. But what do you see?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. What do you see for the future, Chandler, of your wrestling career? Open-ended question.
My future, I do believe is very bright, but I'm not one of those guys that likes to bank on what everyone else says.
Yeah.
I like to bank on what the actions and what the proof in the pudding are actually telling me. Do I believe I've got an opportunity to have a really great and successful wrestling career? Yes. I really do feel like I have those pieces of the puzzle. Now I just have to keep grinding and keep pushing. But I have a time limit for myself, and I have a time limit for things that I want as well. As much as I love wrestling, at 45, I'm calling it. That's just, I'm going to say it now. As much as I know I'm going to have that itch to want to get it back in there and get going, but that's why I have the plan of I want to open a training school. So in the next 5 to 10 years, that'll be my plan, is opening up a training school, and I want to start training. That way, whenever I do decide to hang up the boots, I still have something of wrestling and I can still help the business. Mm-hmm. So I don't necessarily see that my wrestling career and my future in wrestling is just all lights and glory. I do see a lot of that, but I also see the fact that I help a lot of people keep this business that a lot of us love, like myself and Sam and yourself, going for the next years to come. So that is my goal for wrestling. Do I want to wrestle? Absolutely. Do I want to wrestle on the biggest stages of them all? Absolutely. But my goal is to make it and leave it better than where I found it. And I think I'm going to do that.
That sounds perfect to me. That was really well said. Really well said.
Thank you.
And Sam, any advice for Chandler as he continues on in his career?
Yeah, don't be second. The best advice I ever got was from Hector Guerrero when I first broke in. One night in West Palm Beach. He told me, the guys that started ribbing me and stuff like that, Mike Davis and Mike Rotundo, and he come to me, and it was about that. Now, but he gave me the same advice in Lake Charles, Louisiana, because he came up to help me, or he came to work the show, and I was setting the ring up, and I was getting ready to go to Florida. But he told me, Sam, don't ever be second best. He said, you may not be the best at what you do. He said, but as long as you give it your best, then nobody can beat you. If you give it your God's honest best every time you go out there, then you'll attain your dreams. You'll reach your goals. It's if you don't try, you'll never see what you are. From 19, I was paralyzed the first time, partially paralyzed in 91. Lost was away from all the big companies and everything else, but still continued. But from 1991 to 2009, because of my addiction to alcohol and everything, I know I could go out there and have the best match on the card, but I quit trying. I still went out there and had the best match on the card, but I didn't reach as far as I could reach. And that's what I'm trying to do now, is to show everybody that it's worth it. I felt like I cheated the fans for all those years because I didn't go out there and give it my best. I went out there and did my job and had the best matches, but I didn't really give it my best. Now in my life, this is my passion. And if I want something out of it, I've got to give it all I've got. And to reach your dreams and to be able to, you can reach that brass ring, go for it. Don't ever be second best. And that's the advice I'd give you, because Hector Guerrero gave it to me. Don't ever be second best.
Those damn Guerreros, they know what they're talking about, don't they?
That's good.
Yep.
I said I've been on the road with a bunch of them. Been in the ring with a lot of them too.
Yep.
You know, I've wrestled 3 generations of the Samoan dynasty.
Wow.
Really? All three generations and tons more.
You know, I wrestled in Alpha's Alpha and Sika, Samu, who's Alpha's son, and Tonga Kid, who's Sika's son, and then Lance, who's Samu's son.
Wow.
Worked 15 minutes with him. I had to sit on the bottom turnbuckle after 15 minutes. I was like, damn, I wrestled 3 generations of y'all. Shit, I'm old.
That's a cool achievement, though, you can say.
I know, Sam, I know you got to take off, so thank you so much for being here. This was great. I loved this. It really went well, so thank you.
Okay, super. Yeah, let's do it again sometime, okay?
Of course, yeah.
Woo, Mr. Daddy, boogie woogie man feel good. I tell my people, my brothers and sisters, don't you dare miss online. Rewind, recap, relive. Oh, yeah.